What's up, guys? Miss Pass here, back with another Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes commentary video, and today we are re-attacking my roster review. And this time I'm bringing you something a little bit different. We're going to hit two characters in one review because, let's face it, when you're talking about the infamous Red Squadron pilots, Wedge and Biggs, you can't talk about one without talking about the other. So, we are going to hit both of them together in one video, so roll up your sleeves. This is going to be one of my, shall I say, original format, very quick roster review videos. Now, Wedge, he does kind of have low health, low protection, even with mods, so you'll definitely want to make sure that you are putting a tank in his squad with him, whether that be General Kenobi or Baze. I personally recommend Baze. His speed is kind of low, 110 base, so you're going to need really good mods to get him up to a very competitive level. His potency is actually pretty good too, so you don't need to really stack a whole lot more potency to make him useful. His base crit, holy moly, it's good. So you really don't have to worry too much about his critical chance because he's already sitting on about 38%. His gear that he needs at gear 11 is really just that Mark 8 thermal grenade, or thermal detonator I think it is, to get him some more health. And his basic attack is called Focus Fire. It deals physical damage to a target enemy and inflicts defense down until the end of Wedge's next turn. This attack deals 50% more damage to targets suffering defense down. His special attack is called Red Squadron Strike. It deals physical damage to all enemies. This attack deals 50% more damage to Empire enemies or enemies with 50% health or more, which is kind of nifty. It's a very useful AoE, unless the entire enemy squad has Retribution, in which case you probably don't want to use it because he is very squishy. Rebel Heroism is his leader ability and arguably one of the best Rebel leader abilities in the game. It reads, Rebel allies have plus 30% offense, recover 15% of their max health and 10% turn meter on a critical hit, and recover 25% of their max health whenever they defeat an enemy. Red Leader is his unique, and this is where he gets paired up with Biggs quite often. Wedge has plus 12% offense and plus 9 speed for each ally with full health, and plus 15 speed for each ally without full health, including defeated allies. If Biggs Darklighter is present, he also gains these bonuses. That is why you often see Wedge with Biggs, and seldom, very seldom, do you see either without the other. So, going on to Biggs now. Biggs is a Rebel support, and he has just a little bit more protection than Wedge to go with that support role rather than his attacker. However, his health is still pretty low, so once you eat through his protection, he does die fairly easily. His speed is 108, so it's a little bit lower than Wedge, so you're also going to need very good mods to get him competitive in arenas. His potency doesn't really matter because he's not inflicting negative status effects, and his base physical crit chance, along with Wedge, is very good. His basic attack is called Cadet's Aim. It deals physical damage to a target enemy with a 50% chance to gain crit chance up for 2 turns. On a crit hit, grants a random ally crit damage up for 2 turns, which is very, very handy when you're dealing with a squad with a Wedge lead. More damage output you get, the better you're going to do. His special attack is called Comrade in Arms. It deals physical damage to a target enemy and calls an assist. If Wedge Antilles is present, he also assists, calling 2 allies who assist, Wedge being the other. All attacks have a 75% more critical chance, basically guarantees all 3 hits or crits. Adrenaline Rush is his unique. Biggs Darklighter gains 100% turn meter and evasion up for 4 turns after surviving any damage from an Empire, ally, or a critical strike. Save your Omegas, boys and girls, that one's not necessary. If you want to farm Biggs Darklighter, he's in the Galactic War Store, Cantina Battle Node 3G, and Darkside 4A. Basically 3 good places to go farm your Biggs. If you want to farm Wedge, he's in the Fleet Store, and he's available on Cantina Battle 6F. Now, let's talk about these two. Wedge and Biggs, ever since their rework some time ago, probably around a year ago, have been a staple presence in arenas. I think that they are far more common in the lower ranks, shall I say, 50 to 100, possibly even further back. I'd say you probably run into Wedge and Biggs very, very often later on in the ranks. However, they are still capable of taking first place. I've actually used this screen that you're watching to take first place in my arena. Unfortunately, I wasn't recording every single battle. Dumb me. But I promise they have taken first place before. Now, the main strategy behind Wedge and Biggs is overwhelming damage. The whole point of a Wiggs team is to be doing more damage than your enemies can withstand, which, if you're paying attention, is basically the primary tactic here. I mean, when you've got Chirrut whipping out 30,000 crits with his special attack, and then you've got Biggs using his special, which, by the way, can be used every other turn to call assists doing, I don't know, let's see, that was about 28,000 damage right there. So your basic tactic here is doing more damage than the enemy can withstand while using your tank judiciously to soak up the damage that your team obviously cannot withstand, because Wedge and Biggs, obviously being very squishy, are not going to be able to withstand a massive onslaught. Now, I do have R2's Number Crunch Zeta on this squad, which helps significantly with the quote-unquote squishy factor. Obviously, when you're dealing with a squad like this one that I'm facing, you definitely want as much health as you can possibly get. Number one, because enemy Darth Nihilus is putting out that health down, which is going to already put a damper on your capabilities. And you also want to, like right there, see, if I didn't have that extra health on Chirrut, that would have been game over, because keeping Chirrut alive right there in that moment was the game determining factor in this match. Now, the other thing you want to do is definitely be paying attention. Situational awareness is paramount. Right there, if I had used Wedge's AoE, yes, it would have been a nice little chunk of damage, considering these are 3 Empire and Darth Nihilus, but they all 3 had Retribution, and I would have lost my Wedge right there. Also, you want to definitely keep... You want Chirrut on your squad because he can cleanse, he's kind of an impromptu heal. He's not a dedicated healer. See, like right there, I decided AoE, yeah, why not? And it cost me. However, it didn't cost me the match, but it was rough. So Wedge, Biggs, they're definitely useful. Obviously, alone. They can be used in any number of compositions. When I'm doing Galactic War, I like to use Wedge, Biggs, Leia, Cassian, and Fulcrum Ahsoka Tano to just kind of play around and do a massive amount of damage with Fulcrum, because Cassian in the squad gives everybody buffs right off the bat. The other arena squad that I actually used when I wasn't using Chirrut and Baze in my arena squad was actually Wedge, Biggs, General Kenobi, Fulcrum, and R2. That squad itself was actually very, very effective. I just found that when you're facing triple cleanse, you tend to want to have Baze on your squad just so that he can cleanse all of those buffs off of your enemy squad, because let's face it, they're annoying. They are super annoying when you're facing a triple cleanse, especially one with R2. Man, I hate not being able to cleanse that stealth, because it's just annoying. If you are a newer player, let's face it, you probably haven't been spending your Cantina energy on mods, so having good speed secondary on your mods is probably not in the books for you. So if you have Lando, which I recommend every new player farms Lando, because let's face it, he's just incredible and a great asset in the game, you definitely want him, then you are already set up, because let's face it, speed is king, and you want every little bit of speed that you can get. 2 great rebel leaders have speed on their leader abilities, Lando and Admiral Akbar. If you have either, you can use both to give yourself a little bit of an edge against your opponents in the arenas. So I recommend Lando because I like the crit damage bonus that he gives, especially with Biggs. And you want, if you can stack massive amounts of crit damage on Biggs, man, with a leader ability like Lando's, he's going to hit even harder. So he is a great alternative leader ability. If you don't want to use Wedge as your leader, you can use Lando for that extra speed boost if you don't have good speed secondary on your mods. Also, you want to have a good tank, like I said. And I think one of the best tanks for newer players is Stormtrooper Han. Stormtrooper Han is a great tank to have because he's feeding more turn meter, which when you don't have good speed secondaries, any source of turn meter gain is king. So I highly recommend for beginners a good starting squad is Lando lead, Wedge, Biggs, Stormtrooper Han, and pretty much generally any other rebel. Hell, you can even use maybe Royal Guard to have two tanks, and let's face it, you're going to be doing massive amounts of damage with your Wedge and Biggs. You're not going to have any problems with that kind of a squad build. As you get into the higher levels, obviously you're going to need a more diverse, better mods, that kind of stuff to climb higher in the ranks. Now, the other thing the rebels are great for, getting your Emperor Palpatine. So, obviously, Wedge, Biggs, if you've got those two guys on your squad and you're going after Palpatine, you should be gold. That about wraps it up, guys. Like I said, I wanted to go back to my shorter formats. I ditched the long format videos. Hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, please ask me in the comments below. As always, guys, thanks for watching. Follow me on Facebook, follow me on Twitter, join my Discord server to continue the conversation, and I will catch y'all later.